Thank you, folks. I'm really excited about the conversation now. Please welcome back Yair Raveh. Thank you so much. Thank you for this film. I have so much more to discuss. I know we've just seen a lot about Avi Nesher. I think I'm a big believer in Judaism that you shouldn't talk about people behind their backs, but I'm really happy that Avi Nesher is not here so we could talk about him behind his back.
Oh, sure. I have lots to say.
So where to start? First of all, this film is obviously made with a lot of love and appreciation, so we could also be critical, which is another side of it. Avi Nesher is a really easy interviewer. We've had him here many times. You start your question, and before you even finished it, he's answering with all these pearls, as you can see out there.
I'll say that he talked for 18 hours.
That was going to be my first question. How long did you? He talked for 18 hours, and that was just your first question, right?
Right. I shot 18 hours of Avi talking. We spread it. He's 70. We spread it over 8 days, so it wouldn't be all in one sitting. Part of the thing that I wanted him to talk about his entire life story and talk about every single film, because I thought that his story is bigger than only this movie. This is only a 2-hour movie, but you can make a much longer movie, or you can make a TV series, and you have an archive. You now have an archive of Avi talking about his entire filmography.
And that is a treasure. Which is your favorite of Avi Nesher's films?
Raging Glory. I think that's the movie I memorized the name Avi Nesher, and I thought it's a great Israeli movie and it's a great American movie. I love the blend of Israel and American. It's a gangster film for Americans. In Israel, it's a machterot film. It's about the underground. And in his later career, because his career is divided in two, he has the early career in Israel, then the career in America, which we touch upon really lightly here, and then he came back to Israel in 2004 and made his films until now. From his current career, I love The Matchmaker, and the Sins. I think it's called
The Sins.
Achataim.
Yeah. That was the one after...
the other Holocaust movie he made. He's 2 Holocaust movies. Yeah.
Nice. And many of its films can be found on our streaming site, I should note. I said at the beginning that Avi Nesher's story also is really, and you took that even further, that it's really the story of the evolution of Israel. But he really you could see how the culture was, small and simple in the 1970s, and young voices coming out and speaking out, and then as it growed and matured, as did the Israeli film industry, to become a lot more professional and bringing a lot more to the table. Can you take that a little bit from your perspective? What was that growth of culture for you in your perspective?
Regarding to cinema, I think that when Avi came back to Israel in the early 2000s, it was after 9/11, and it was after the big crash of independent cinema here in the States. And I think he realized then that in Israel it would be easier for him to make films than in America, which was the exact opposite when he left in 1985. So, and I think that for many years, from 2000 and until 2015, Israel was a heaven for independent filmmakers, for artistic filmmakers, for filmmakers who find a way to express personal beliefs with some sort of communicative filmmaking. It is when Israeli films hit the film festivals, and there was more money. The Israeli film law was started in 2000, so there was more money in Israeli films. There were more filmmakers, younger filmmakers, film schools, and there were more films made each year. And I think that Avi came as the elder statement of the Israeli film, and he made his comeback. and showed everyone that you can be successful and personal and artistic all at the same time.
But that was really where Avi had a unique perspective, because at that time, yes, the Israeli films were opening up to the world, and Avi Nesher, although his films are relatively commercial and were extremely successful in Israel, most of them do not have an American distributor. Most of them do not have the same international distribution that some other Israeli filmmakers have.
Right. That's a big question. I think some of them were able to get distribution, but I think that for American distributors, they are too local. Some of them have humor. You know, humor doesn't travel well. Turn Left at the End of the World it's a sad movie, but it's also a very funny movie. And The Troop, which is everybody knows The Troop, Halaka in Israel by heart.
The Troop did have an American distributor.
Yeah, but you know, it was in the Lincoln Plaza cinema for several weeks. But yeah, I think some of the films were distributed, but very niche distributions, very local distributions, not big. I think at the same time, Israeli films were more international because they dealt with themes that were less local. They were more universal than the films of Avi. So he became a best kept secret of Israeli cinema, I think.
My theory on it, by the way, is that in some ways he's too American. He wasn't foreign enough. Actually, it's the opposite of what you're saying in some ways. That I think his films were too commercial. And that wasn't necessarily what the art house scene was looking for. They were looking for, give me something a little more ethnic.
Okay.
But both theories stand for sure. The success of Turn Left at the End of the World really also, for the first time, gave Israel a real box office. Suddenly, films can be successful. It brought Israelis back to the cinema for Israeli films. And this revolutionized Israeli cinema in many ways. Right now, Israeli films are only making money in the Israeli box office. What for you seeing all the growth of Israeli cinema, what part does the Israeli audiences play in Israeli filmmakers' work?
A big part. Many filmmakers don't know that. I think many filmmakers in Israel, or too many filmmakers in Israel, think of films as a startup. They want to make an exit in abroad. I think that you have to start relating to your audience, to your local audience, to making a splash at home, and then only going out and finding your audience abroad. But in Israel, many filmmakers feel that they first have to succeed in a film festival in Cannes, Venice. And nowadays, it's really difficult because Israel is boycotted by, Israeli cinema is boycotted by all the festivals. So I think that many of the films that you show this week here are those that found audience at home. And I think that maybe now more filmmakers realize that they can have homegrown hits and not only art house hits abroad.
So I'll ask one more question, then we'll take some questions from the audience. Avi Nesher has never won the Israeli Academy Award, the Ophir Award for Best Picture. He's never been nominated. I didn't even realize that. I thought they at least teased him a little bit. Never been nominated.
The name Avi Nesher was never said out loud in the ceremony. His film, The Matchmaker, won the two lead actors, Adi Miller and Maya, forgot her name, both won the Ophir Award for Best Actors, but Avi was not even nominated for the direction of the...
How do you explain this? You said a little at first, but I'm digging a little deeper.
You know the Morrissey song, We Hate It When Our Friends Become Successful?
Yes.
That.
Interesting. That could play a part. Okay. Jealousy, but unfortunate. I'd love to make you a part of this and take your questions. We're going to pass you a microphone. Hold on.
So, apropos the last point that you made, Kishon is another example of someone who was not quite accepted by the Academy at first, and even a little later on. And my question to you is was there any interaction between the two, even though Kishon is much older? Kishon and...
He talked about it.
Well, briefly, but not, I mean, both were... Yeah, go ahead.
I think that the scene where he talks about it is their interaction, because it was Kishon's last film and Avi's first film, and they shot on the same lot, on the same studio. So I think it's like Kishon handing the baton to Avi, and there is another bit of trivia. You don't see it in the movie. If you see the troupe, Uri Zohar, who was also one of the best filmmakers in the early days of Israeli cinema, has a short cameo in the troupe. So again, those two interactions between the old-timers or the founders of Israeli cinema and the new kid on the block, I think that's what makes the troupe special. That he pays homage to his elders, to the people who began. Because the troupe is shot in 1978, but it happens in 1969. So it's all about the Israeli culture and the entertainment world of the 60s in Israel.
Other questions? We're going to give the microphone.
Yeah, she is.
Is her mother still alive? We, of course, showed here also Come Closer, which is his daughter's film, and I asked her how much of her father, he came to set only one day. He's letting her have her own career, but it really shows that that he has literally brought to life the next generation of Israeli filmmakers.
And the day that I shot his daughter, I didn't intend to interview Tom Nesher, his daughter, because I thought his daughter, what would she say about her father? And Iris told me you should talk to her because she understands him more than he does. And if you heard what she said, it's true. I think that he has no self-awareness about the films he makes. He can't analyze himself, but she does. And I think when I look at what person about Avi's life, instead of saying it myself, I think she says it's better.
What is Avi working on now? Do you know?
He started to shoot a new film right this week. It's called All of Our Loves. Most of Avi's names in production changed later. I think that next year we'll have a new Avi Nesher film here. I'm not sure what it will be about. I know he's working about October 7th project. I'm not sure if it's this one that he's shooting. Right before we started shooting, he said in an interview that he may never direct a film again. And my producers really want, and I use it as a pitching point for the Israeli funds. This is Avi's last film. This is the time to document him. And then my producers asked me, why don't you say in the movie that Monkey House that we're following its production is his last film? And I said, I don't believe it's his last film. I think he'll direct as long as he can breathe.
And I'm glad that he's not sick. Usually you make these films when it's really the end of the career, but hopefully this will be just part one of this. He has many more decades to make films. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for joining us, folks. Please join us for whatever you still can here at the festival. Do not miss out on the last few films. Do you have any recommendations for...
Tomorrow, it's my favorite film of 2024.
The Vanishing Soldier. There are 2 tickets left. One lucky person, buy them and try to sell them. Also don't miss Cabaret Toto and, of course, Better Days, the story of Yair Raveh. Thank you all and have a good night.